Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today's video is going to be on the Nightforce NX8. And to start out with, for the longest time, I told myself I was never going to put a AR up on this channel just because I didn't like the thought process of, you never know what's going to happen in the future. And then you've got a record of basically owning one on the internet, and the internet is forever. And I've thought about that more, and I think that's the wrong approach. I think I'd rather say I have an AR, and I'm just not going to give it up, kind of thing. So you shouldn't hide it. You should say I'm going to own it, and I'm going to continue to own it no matter what. So with that said, this is my AR, and my father actually bought me the lower receiver when I graduated from college. That's the college emblem on there. And basically it was like build it however you want. And over the years it did slowly get changed and what have you as I played around with stuff. But this is kind of the final iteration. It's nothing super crazy. It's got an Noveske upper on it, and then CTR stock on here. I really like that. If you notice, I have a face that's kind of long and narrow, and I think the CTR stock kind of fits my face best. So anyway, not really here to talk about the rifle, because the rifle is, I don't think, anything crazy. But the NX8, the reason I decided to do this video is I see a lot of dislike and hatred for the NX8. And so my history with the NX8 is I ordered one maybe 2019-ish or 2020, and it had a very tight eye box. And I was really up on the fence about it. And I did not like, too, the fact that it had a cap turret, or no, I'm sorry, it had uncapped turret, so the elevation was it was exposed basically, so the dial it could turn and what have you. And so I ended up selling that one, and I really did like a thorough search on scopes and looked at various friends and what have you. And believe it or not, I ended up coming back to the NX8 1-8 and bought another one, except this time the cap version. Now, this is actually the C599 model, which is military only, or veteran or law enforcement. And all it is, though, it's just a capped version of their uncapped version. So they have a cap version that has the small center mil dot reticle deal. I got the larger center dot reticle. I don't know if you can make that out, but it's basically the first reticle they came out with, and later on they offered more of like a Christmas tree reticle. So yeah, but I see a lot of dislike for the NX8, and I think people are actually using it wrong. I'm going to take these caps off so you can see better, because I used it wrong, I think, too. And people talk about the eye box being really tight, and I don't disagree. It is, but I think it's very usable. Like, I can still see it, right here as I'm moving my head. You can see how much I'm moving my head. I still can see it, like the center of the crosshair here. And so if you look at a lot of these reviewers, they're used to larger LPVOs. And so for me, that was a big thing. If you look at this rifle, it's a very lightweight rifle. It's got the very lightweight Noveske barrel shroud, as some of our anti-gun politicians would call it. Rail, that's the word I'm looking for. So it's got a really lightweight rail on here, and then got a lighter stock, the CTR. So I kind of like the lightness factor of the NX8, And but most of the LPVOs are longer. I'm trying to hold this up where I can just hold this with one hand and steady this. They're longer, so people are used to them being out here. They're used to them being further back here. And I had my NX8 mounted to where the end here was like right here. And if you look at a lot of the reviewers, they have that as well. And if I put my eye up here this close, so I'm, you got really limited eye relief here. Now granted, you wouldn't be this close, but I'm just for demonstration purposes. The closer you get, basically, the worse that eye relief comes. And so I think most people, they have their NX8 mounted too far back. And it's just based on the other LPVOs that are a lot larger, just that's how they end up. And so if you take your NX8 and you push it forward, you'll find that the eye box, I don't think is that big of an issue once you start shooting like that. So I've got I usually kind of take this kind of a cheek hold too. I don't do the nose, the charging handle deal, so there is that. But it's kind of funny too, I read on a forum that somebody was talking about, well, when they went to a higher mount, so this is like about a 1.5 mount here. When they went to a higher mount, they felt like the NX8 got better with the eye box and didn't understand why. I think the reason for that is you're coming, if you got a 1.5 mount, your head's pretty far down and it's forward, right? But as your optic goes up, I think you naturally start to do this with your head. So you're actually, in addition to going up, I think you're going back. And so, like we just talked about, you're increasing the distance from your eye to the end of this. And that fixes the eye box problem. But yeah, I would say it's a tighter eye box, but I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. And I've really grown to love it. At first I had pretty ambivalent feelings towards it. And yeah, I think it's a good solid optic. I have a buddy of mine, he has the Attacker. And I didn't get a chance really to like play with it that much. I'll certainly say the glass quality is better than this, without a doubt. But and I don't think this is unusable at all. And I think that if you practice around with it, it's quite a nice little optic, and it depends really on what you value. And for me, I really like the lightweight of it, and also it's a costly optic, but there are certainly more costly optics out there. I would say too, if you're a veteran, look into Nightforce's veterans program, because one of the things they say is not to disclose prices or anything like that after they verify that you were a veteran and give you the forms. But I'll say it's a good deal, and that I'll leave it at that. So it's worth contacting Nightforce about that. Nightforce too, they're a tank. You can watch all the videos. There's a story of this dude in Afghanistan. His Nightforce scope got shot. Like literally, there's a picture of the bullet going through it, and it didn't lose zero, which is pretty crazy. So, Nightforce traditionally, they're just built like tanks. Another example of being built like a tank. This is a LaRue mount. I like the LaRue mount QD here, and on the manual it says go to 30 inch-pounds on these screws, and most scope bodies, they'll say go to like anywhere from 18 to like 21 inch-pounds, and that the fear is if you go past that, you might start having issues with your scope. I've heard of people having issues trying to adjust parallax if they went to the 30 inch-pounds that's set on the directions here. But I talked to Nightforce and asked them, I said, hey, is 30 inch-pounds going to be okay? And they were like, yep, absolutely. Whatever the scope mount manufacturer says to torque it down to, torque it down. So, yeah. As far as what comes with the for scope caps here, these are like the rubber ones. They're not too bad. Nightforce does offer these flip-up caps, which I haven't even put on yet, but I had them on the last NX8 that I had, and they're pretty good. I would probably recommend going with these over these. But I did read a review, though, of somebody who said they actually kind of preferred these because if you think about this getting into thick brush or hitting stuff, it's never going to rip off really because it's rigid. It's not rigid, so it'll just go with whatever it hits. Whereas these, they are, you know, like a rigid piece of plastic, and so if it does hit something, it potentially can snag it and drag it. So someone, I haven't experienced that, but someone talked about how they like these better. So food for thought. I want to talk to you about the stock choice here. With the NX8 does have like kind of a, like we talked about, it definitely does have a tighter eye box. I feel like it's mitigated by mounting the scope forward. And another thing though that I think mitigates it is, believe it or not, your stock choice. And this is kind of a theory. I can't say I like the CTR stock, so that's pretty much what I have experience with running around in the woods in South Dakota. You know, I can't say I have any kind of crazy experience like real like operator types have. But the thing I like about this stock, and I think it helps with the NX8, is it's just naturally rounded. There's no edge, there's no flats. And so I wonder if the stocks, almost all of them besides this, have at least some kind of predetermined flat surface. You know, it's not continuously round. So what does that mean? Well, to me it means I'm able to choose the angle of my face, basically. Whereas on a stock that has a flat, well, now I'm kind of like stuck on that flat, right? And I can go up or I can go down. But at that point, I might, I feel like maybe it's possible that might, what's the word I'm looking for? Make the eye box issues a little more, more obvious to you, more obvious to your eye. Whereas with this stock, I'm not stuck in an angle, so I'm very easily able to just boom, get on it. That's a theory of mine. Take it with a grain of salt because this is the only stock that I own. But just thinking about it, it's like that's one nice thing. Granted, I don't have as much surface area of my face on the stock, but I am, given the nature of the stock, because this is its shape, I am able to very quickly just boom, seek out the perfect position of adjusting my head to where boom, I'm in it basically, as far as being in the scope. I think it's already been discussed, but this is real smooth, the actuation here. And then of course you've got regular capped turrets here for windage and elevation. That's what I wanted. So I got that in the end. And then it's 0.2 mils, which it would have been nicer. If there was one thing I could change on this scope, it would be 0.1 mil adjustments. I like that idea. Even though I think for what this is, which is, you know, it's a 16, decently accurate 16-inch barrel. And this is pretty much, serves as a red dot up at 1 power, and then, you know, you got some range basically. It's not necessarily a hardcore sniper weapon. And the 0.2 I guess does the trick, but I think I would enjoy 0.1 mils just slightly better, having that. And then it is made in Japan. That's another thing. I wish it was made in the USA. All of Nightforce's glass is actually made in Japan. It's kind of funny. There's actually no company in the United States that makes real high-grade scope glass. It all comes, like the real high-end stuff, comes from Japan, and then the Austrian and German manufacturing places. So, and to my understanding too, talking with Leopold when I was debating on scopes, Leopold just buys their glass from wherever, and then they grade it based on its like optical clarity or whatever, and they just have glass sorted by clarity. They could even source it from China. They were telling me, which that really bothered me. So I'm one of these people. I just, no offense to the Chinese people, but I just don't support China and communism. So I try my best not to buy things from China. So wouldn't ever buy anything from Leopold because they couldn't like guarantee me that it wouldn't not have come from China, the glass. So there's that. Yeah, I think I've kind of hit all the points that I wanted to say. Definitely, if you get a chance to try the NX8, I don't think it's a bad optic. I would probably try it if you got a buddy who has access to it before buying it, because it's a I think it's a purpose built scope. But personally, I really really love this scope, and I know there's a lot of people who have reviewed it and have less than favorable thoughts about it. I can't. I will say, yeah. Initially, the first one that I bought, I'm not sure that I initially I didn't. It was kind of like I was really on the fence about it, but yeah, now that I've kind of discovered, hey, mount this thing forward and what have you, I think it's a pretty damn good scope. Yeah, I think that's all I got.